let's talk about some of the challenges you faced along the way and some of the challenges you face right now as the CEO of EmpowHer. And how do you deal with those challenges? How do you manage them? How do you navigate through them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are levels to this, right?
Right.
So being an executive in a nonprofit sector, you're still running a business, right?
Right.
And I think people miss that part. Like they think that we're just coming in all day and playing with the kids. And it's like, no, there's a whole, I got bills to pay like everybody else. I got to negotiate contracts. I got government things I got to deal with and requirements.
Absolutely.
I got taxes to file. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are real like laws I got to follow. And so it's a business, right? And I think there are challenges within that. Then being a woman in this, and then being a Black woman in this.
Okay, let me hold on. I need a sip of water right there. I need a sip. Hold.
Tige charity. This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. We are here to help leaders navigate a road that can often feel very lonely. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode of Leadership Realities. Thank you.
Our guest today is the beautiful, smart, talented powerhouse, my friend, my sis from another mother, Dawn L. Brown. She is the CEO and president of EmpowHer. Dawn, welcome to the show. I'm so excited. Girl, look, I'm telling you, I feel like a little kid in a candy store right now because you and I can spend hours talking, and we have.
Yes.
And I love just the energy and all that you bring and the realness of who you are. So I'm excited to have you. Thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
Of course,
I appreciate it.
welcome. So let's start off with just a little bit about who is Dawn L. Brown and when did she first start working in this realm of leadership?
Okay. So, quick background on who I am. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I grew up in the projects, to be honest, in Washington, D.C., and had an amazing opportunity. Well, I had this amazing mom who was, whenever the school said, oh, she's talented in something, we want to put her in this is happening. My mom was like, throw her in it, put her in it. I don't care, put her in it, right? And so she made sure that I knew that there was a world outside of where the few blocks in which I lived, right?
Yes.
And so I had this opportunity to go to School of the Arts. I went to Duke Ellington School of the Arts, which is a famous high school,
of course,
right? And I lived really far from the school, so I would actually have to take a bus and 2 trains to get there every day.
Oh, Lord.
And because I had to get up, school started at 8:30. It was from 8:30 to 5:30. That's your regular school hours. Then you have after school. So with that meant that I was going to have to get up super early because it took about an hour and a half to get there.
Oh, God.
And so I actually would have to stand in the dark early in the morning at the bus stop, and the drug dealer of the area, the big one, he was like, she's going somewhere. So he would stand there with me to make sure I was safe.
Oh, wow.
And because this was in the 80s, this was like crack era. And so he wouldn't start his business until I got on the bus.
Are you serious?
And so, yes. So I grew up in this world where we wrapped our arms around each other and protected one another, even in the midst of so much violence. And I have to share that part because it really feeds into who I am today and where I, have become, who I have become.
Yes.
And so I ended up getting to go to NYU for undergrad and grad school. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I thought I studied acting. So I was like, I'm going to take over Broadway, right? So I graduated from NYU. I ended up teaching acting there right afterwards. And I was like, I'm taking over Broadway. I got there and I was like, I'm here. And they were like, you better get in line like everybody else and start auditioning. And so after one too many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I was like, okay, I think I need to find a job to supplement my income
Right.
while I do this.
Right.
And because I had worked with young people for so long and had worked in nonprofits, just in after school jobs and things like that. Because when you're poor, you gotta make money, right?
Yes.
And so you start working at like 14. You lie. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. My mom lied on my paperwork so I could work at 12 or 13. But so I was like, well, there's this job at the YMCA, so I'm gonna apply. And I acted my way into the YMCA as a manager to run an after
not a
school
manager.
program. Yes,
You
girl.
went straight to management?
And started up a brand new after school program for them, their first virtual Y in Harlem, right?
I love it.
And so somehow or another through that, I was successful enough that ended up bringing in Bloomberg as my first funder. And not only did they come in, but within the year, they were so excited with the ideas I had pitched to them, convinced them to do some really cool things with us, that they ended up tripling their donation, their commitment, and then saying we're going to make a commitment, a 3-year commitment, and triple each year, right?
Wow.
And so that made the YMCA say, we're going to make her a director. So within a year and a half of being at the YMCA, I became the youngest director at the YMCA, running a team of 35.
At 16.
I wish it was at 16, right? So here I was at 22 doing this, and I remember when they brought budgets to me, they were like, okay, so here's your budget, and this is what you need to work on, and you're going to be working on a strategic plan soon, and blah, blah. And I was like, okay, sounds great. And I go home to my boyfriend, who was he had a master's in accounting, and he was a finance guy, and so I was like, help me read this. I don't know what this means.
Right.
And so he was teaching me behind the scenes finances and like how to run a business, and then I'd go in there and I'd do and I was like, I have these ideas, and he was like, you got the ideas and the instincts, so we just got to put this with the skill, right?
Wow.
And so that's how I started in this work, was really I acted my way through it, right? And I just fell in love. I really thought that this was going to be something to supplement my income. But I really truly fell in love with the young people, the work that I was doing, and it really allowed me this opportunity to be creative in a different way.
Yes.
And so within that, I just continued to grow. Here I am now, 25 years in the game, in the nonprofit world, nonprofit management. I've spent like 15 years in executive management, maybe a little bit more than that, probably 20 now, in executive management, and have, spent a lot of time, all of my time has been with young people, and really focusing on gender and racial equity and social justice issues, a lot of work around juvenile justice, sex trafficked girls, young people involved in gangs, and now empowering young women to reach their fullest potential. And so that's really how I started, how I got into this. By 25, I was my executive director for the first time.
Wow. At 25.
Yeah, and it just
Y'all,
kept
my
going from
CEO
there.
friends look young. They don't look like what they've been through. Because she look 25 right now.
Thank you, girl.
So
Thank you.
I'm like, for real. I was telling one of my last guests, Shamika, I was like, oh my God, you look like you're 15, 16. But yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Such a powerful story. So I just gotta know. Now this gang member bodyguard, is he still around? Does he know, does he see the fruits of his investment of just watching and guarding you?
Who sold drugs. He's not around with us
He's
anymore.
not around. Okay. Well, yeah.
I remember when we lost him. But yeah, no, he was like, don't bother her. She's going places. So it was really like, it was crazy because where I lived, we lived in a house, and there were sister and brothers on both sides, and we were all friends. Both of the brothers on both sides lost their lives before they were 16. Both of the girls were pregnant before they were 16. But he saw me like my head in my books all the time, really interested in the arts, really interested in like academics. And so and my grandmother, he was born to a crackhead. And so he was hungry and dirty as a kid a lot. And my grandmother was the one who would feed him. She would see him, and she would just be like, come on in here, and she'd feed him, she'd give him clothes, she'd make sure he and his sister were okay. And so as he grew up and he saw me as this kid, he was like, it's my job now to protect her, right?
So the power of love versus judgment, huh?
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's it. I never judged what he did because of the fact that this was a family that he was a an extension of the family, and I understood the idea of survival, and when you don't have necessarily the resources or the skills or the knowledge of something bigger, you do with what you know.
You succumb to sort of your environment.
Exactly, and so he did what he knew, but he still had a good heart, and that's one of the things that's important for people to always understand. I always try to have conversations with my young people that no one is all the way good or all the way bad. Like there is, there are levels to this, right? And we got to understand that and embrace that in order to understand and embrace the humanness of people.
And I think innately, because I don't think we were born bad. Nobody was
Absolutely
born
not.
bad, right?
Absolutely not.
You were born with the purest of heart, the purest of intention, and then life.
Yep. And then life.
Yes.
That's a full sentence. And then life. Right?
Yes. Like the young folks say today, life be lifing.
Okay.
Right? I've been trying to keep up with the slangs of these young people because we both get the privilege of serving young people.
Yes.
And I see how this is all shaped to who you are today and your investment in the young people that you serve. So I just want to say thank you, first of all, for the work.
Thank you.
And I love talking to you because, like I said, we get the real. But being in leadership does present some real challenges. Let's talk about some of the challenges you faced along the way and some of the challenges you face right now as the CEO of EmpowHer. And how do you deal with those challenges? How do you manage them? How do you navigate through them?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are levels to this, right? So being an executive in a nonprofit sector, you're still running a business, right? And I think people miss that part. Like they think that we're just coming in all day and playing with the kids. And it's like, no, there's a whole, I got bills to pay like everybody else. I got to negotiate contracts. I got government things I got to deal with and requirements.
Absolutely.
I got taxes to file. Like, you know what I mean? Like there are real laws I got to follow. And so it's a business, right? And I think there are challenges within that. Then being a woman in this, and then being a Black woman in this.
Okay, let me hold on. I need a sip of water right there. I need a sip. Hold. All right, this is going to be a long day. Come on.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
That creates other levels and other challenges, right? Because we face misogynoir in our workspaces all the time. And when you come into a nonprofit sector, often people are like, oh, well, all is good. And so they ignore the trauma that we face as a result, right?
But you're talking about the leaders of the trauma the leaders face. Okay, come on.
Right? Because you're not only dealing with having to manage this team and build it up, and you carry the shoulders of everyone in there. I carry the weight of everybody's salary to make sure I can fundraise and make it happen so they keep their jobs. And then I serve over 1,000 girls a year, the majority of them on a weekly basis. And so I carry the weight of them, right?
Yes.
And their families, because I've got to make sure that they reach their fullest potential, and I'm walking my talk every day.
Wow.
And I think that there are so many innately challenges with that. And then you get a board who, as amazing as any board can be, and I have a great board, does not get the day-to-day of that and what that looks like, right? And when you have a board that's not amazing, which I have had at times, where often in nonprofit sector, you have a board that is all white, that is all well off, right? Then they want to challenge and question everything that you do, right?
Okay.
And so absolutely, are there challenges? Yes. You know, everything from having to wait 9 months for a check from the government that
girl,
they said
hold
they
on.
were going to pay you in 6 months, and they reimbursing you, and you sitting there like, I don't know if I can make payroll because you have not reimbursed me for money you were supposed to reimburse me for. I did my job. I signed my contract.
Right.
I
And
did
produced the work.
I produced the work. I got all the paperwork you asked me for, right? And yet and still you holding the money because you just slow. We're just, slow. We're just busy. We're getting it to you.
Right.
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 Everything from that to HR issues, right? Because you got HR issues that people don't come in here perfect.
Because people be people.
People be people in. Let me tell you something, okay? To having to juggle the requirements of your board to donors and to your foundations and your funding partners, right? And so all of that, and we partner with schools. And we work with 3 different school districts.
Oh,
so
Lord.
you can even
That's
imagine that.
That's
right?
a whole nother.
Listen,
that's a whole nother
so
thing.
when we talk about I'm like, which category you want to go into?
Right.
But yeah, there are lots of challenges that you face on a daily basis. I think the thing that keeps you going is that it is mission focused.
Absolutely. The impact of the work.
The impact
The
of the
change
work.
lives.
Yep.
The outcomes of the youth.
Yep.
The next Don Browns that you are investing in.
Exactly.
The Dawn L Browns that you are investing in.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
That's the motivation that keeps you going. But how do you take care of you in the process?
Listen, that's a great question. So boxing is my therapy. I literally wear a shirt that says that. Because there are literal, I think that I had gotten to a place where I was dealing with so much stress from work, and I run a small nonprofit. So that has grown. We have grown significantly in a short amount of time. And so with that comes a lot of levels, right? I came into an organization where it was just me and one other employee. To now having 15 employees.
Wow.
We went from 300 kids serving annually to 1,030.
Wow.
And so our budget has grown from a $300,000 budget to a $2.6 million budget,
Wow.
right? And we've done that in 3 years, so we've doubled every year, right?
So we went from taking over Broadway as an actress to now taking over the nonprofit sector as a CEO. Okay, carry on.
And so, but that comes with its ups and downs, right? Like I said, you're dealing with the government and you have these contracts and you got to fundraise. That's my life. My life is fundraising. Sometimes I feel like a professional beggar, right? And so you're dealing with that. You're dealing with staff that sometimes you're like, okay, sis, seriously, I'm gonna try to stay professional here, but give me a moment to pray. And so you're dealing with that, and you still have life, right? You still have life outside of this, right? And so all of that those weights can carry and can hold you. And so there are times when I've had insomnia and wasn't, sleeping. I've literally gone days without eating just because I was so busy that I forgot, right? And so of course, we see therapists, we do those things. And I was like, what? Nothing was working really for me. And then I picked up some gloves and hit a heavy bag. And then I hit,
let that stress out.
And I started boxing with my trainer. And it was that was my meditation. Wow. And so I can't focus in meditation. Don't have me sitting there for 15, 20, 30 minutes talking about, that ain't going to work for me. Okay.
Well, you got to be true to thyself.
You
got to know yourself. Exactly.
But when I hit a bag, that is meditation. That I get in a zone. And so, not only does it, drop the LBs and be, toning up things and doing all the goodness. I was saying the other day, I looked in the mirror the other day, I was like, my butt is buttoning, right? Because of that working out. Paying off. But it also is this incredible stress reliever because it helps me, keep my energy up, but helps me sleep better. And so that's something that's really important to me. The other thing is really trying to make sure that I remind myself, and I had this conversation with one of our friends yesterday, that, this is my mantra now, is that I can do what I can do. And I'm doing the best I can every day.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Giving yourself some grace.
Gotta
It's hard to give
grace.
ourselves grace.
So hard.
Yes, it is. Because you're carrying all those things that you talked about. They're very, very real.
Yes.
And I appreciate you leaving no stones unturned. You hit it all, from board to the youth we serve, to the staff we have, to all of it.
Yeah.
To the funders that we sometimes have to do
right.
the song and dance for, but.
Yeah, and now my trainer, when he saw I wasn't eating right and I wasn't giving myself breaks, he literally contacted my assistant and was like, okay, put it on her schedule to eat lunch.
I like that.
Right?
That's a good trainer.
And my assistant was like, absolutely. So she was like, yeah, I know she's not doing what she needs to do. So she literally puts it on my schedule. And she will call me. She will send messages like, Dawn, it's time for you to eat lunch. I know you're in a meeting, but you need to take 5 minutes and get something to eat.
Wow.
You know what I mean? She does those things. Or
That's good.
Right? And so she has really helped me I've scheduled my life so that I don't take meetings before 10 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Yep. I come in, I have an hour to deal with my emails and to get my head focused for the day, and then I start my meetings. And it really helps me to be a little bit more organized, a little bit more focused, and it has really helped my mental health and my physical health. So that's how I take care of myself. Everybody has to figure it out for themselves.
Yes.
But I say use your assistance,
Right.
and make sure that, you're getting out there and figuring out what your meditation is.
That's good, Don. The work takes a village, and it takes a village to hold one another up in this role as a CEO. So I commend you, and I know what it's like because I've had some of my team members come and say, you need lunch, or let me take care of this for you. And it really is one of those things, just like, thank you. It's the little things that really add up and help when you're in a chaotic sort of role, juggling all the time. So I want to ask you about this team. You went from 3 to 15.
I went from 2 to 15.
2 to 15.
Sis.
The hiring process ain't easy.
Oh, girl.
How in the world did you manage that?
All right. So, I came into the organization, I set a very clear, and I met with the board, and I proposed a 6-year growth and expansion plan to the board.
Okay.
And so I was very clear when I came in, this is where I see us going.
Okay.
And so I had to make some shifts. And so you got to start there. I made some shifts, and when I started, we were focusing on teen dropout prevention and pregnancy prevention.
Okay.
I came in and said, congratulations, you did it. The numbers are low. We need to look at where we are today. What do young people need today? And that means having conversations with them.
Right.
And then from there, and this was right in 2020 when I came in, and so I shifted the organization to being a fully functioning social
Did you say
justice.
2020 in COVID?
Yeah, girl, I came in the middle of it.
Okay. All right.
And I was in DC. They found me in DC because I had been in LA, but I had moved back to DC because I had a sick mom. And so they ended up, I was running the organization remotely for the first 6 months, and then flew out here. Got my apartment sight unseen. Girl, it's a whole story. But anyway.
Wow. See, I can all day I can talk to Don.
Wrote $1 million wrote a grant that we ended up getting $1 million from, the organization's first large grant, while sitting on the hardwood floors with no furniture in the middle in my apartment, because it was COVID, so I'm sitting there waiting for the food, for the furniture to come. Like they kept delaying it, right? Girl, it's a whole story. But anyway, so I came in with this idea, right? And so I said, this is where we're gonna go. We're gonna grow it, and so in that we did. Because it was COVID, I said we're going to do a 2-year strategic plan. And then from there, we ended up doing a 3-year one 2 years later.
Okay.
And so in that, I literally had metrics of every year, what it was going to look like, how many staff I was going to bring on, how many young people we were going to serve, what the budget was going to look like. Like I literally broke it down from that perspective as to how we were going to grow, because my goal is to grow us to a national organization.
Wow. Now this was before the $1 million grant was approved, or after the $1 million?
Honey. This was before.
Okay.
So look, you got to dream big, right?
You got look.
And so,
yes, ma'am.
And so that's what I did. I said to my board, listen, I can do this for you, but you got to leave me alone. Right? Don't question what I do and the method in which I do it. Give me the space to do what I do. Now, if I'm messing up or I'm tripping up, then let's have that conversation. Don't question me through the process, if I'm doing what I need to do. And so they agreed to give me the space to do it.
I bet they're thanking you for it.
Right? And here's the funny thing. I ended up talking to my board chair, about 2 years ago, after my first year, and she said, just so you know, we all thought you were crazy, and we were like, look, if she just brings in her salary the first year, we're good.
Wow.
Right? And bringing in millions, if you ain't told me that.
Right.
So in that, so that was the first thing, is to really setting a clear plan. What do we want to do first, right? What do we want to achieve? How long is it going to take to achieve it? What is it going to cost to achieve, right? And what are the metrics of that? And then you say, what staff do I need to make that happen?
Yes.
When I came in, I had a program manager, and she had been there for some years before I even got there.
Okay.
And so it was just her and I. And she was actually on maternity leave. I didn't meet her for the first 6 months I was there because she was on maternity leave. And so and then she pops in, and I'm like, okay, hey, And so by that time, I had already had the plan. I'm like, this is where we're going. Right. And she's like, whoa. And so first it was sitting down and mentoring her, figuring out where she wanted to go, where she wanted to be. Okay. Because I knew I couldn't lose her, and at the same time I needed her to go along with the plan. To catch up with
where you were going.
To catch up, right? And so, once we were able to get that in place, and I understood where the challenges were for her, talk to the young people to find out what the challenges were with the program itself, and then me just sort of assessing based on my own experience, I was able to then come up with a plan. Yeah. And as we grew and as we started to bring in more funds, we brought in more staff.
Yes.
And so the hiring process has gone through its stages. But the first thing for me is that we are a youth-led organization.
Right.
And we are a youth-guided organization. That's extremely important. I come from that work, and so I brought that to my organization. And so the first thing was the young people have to be a part of the hiring process.
Oh, that's good.
Right. And so I remember my director of program, she got promoted to director of programs, but she was like, okay, how does that work? And I'm like, okay, trust me on this, right? This is how we're going to do it. And so we start, depending on who the hiring manager is, they do the first round of interviews with other staff members, right? And then once they've gone through those layers, then we bring in the young person. And what we do is, depending on the position, they either have to present something, like if they're teaching, then they have to actually teach a class in front of the youth, and then they get to interview them. If they're not teaching a class, then they're just coming in to do an interview. But they're interviewing in front of a group of young people in a classroom setting. And it is hilarious and amazing and inspiring.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because when we first started, the girls were like, very quiet. Okay. Now they're like, so what do you bring to the
that confidence? You watch
what do
the
you feel
shift
that
in
you
that
bring
confidence
to the table?
Yes.
You know, and the feedback that they give. And so to me, so I'll sit there and I'll say, so what did you think? And I remember someone coming in one time and we were like, I don't know, she seems like she's good, but she just lacks some confidence. But let's see where she goes in front of the girls. Those girls, once she left, they said, listen, she needs about a year or two before she's able to come before us and teach us. She's not ready because she's supposed to be teaching us how to empower ourselves and how to embrace the power of our voices. She hasn't found her voice yet.
Oh my.
So she can't teach us.
Oh my.
13, 14-year-olds. I said, okay.
Oh
see,
my.
this is why we have you interview too.
Yes.
So once they've interviewed, then I do the interview and then we do the background check. And so that's what we've been able to do. We are, continuing to look at tweaking, not that component of it, but do we need to do some kind of like common sense test with them? And what does that look like? Because Lord help us with the
don't
hiring.
Start nothing.
If
Don't start
somebody
nothing.
else, like, girl, if somebody else comes in with I didn't know, and I'm like, okay.
Don't start nothing.
So some of the common sense stuff, we're still trying to figure out how can we assess their ability to make those, because I've literally had kids, like my girls, we hire them in the summer. I've had my girls, my 16, 17, 18-year-olds sit me to the side like, listen, I don't think she's going to make it because the things you teaching us about job readiness, she not following. I done watched her. And I'm like, you're right. I got things to rectify here. You know what I mean? And that is literally happened.
Oh my gosh.
And so the hiring process, has continued to tweak. We've had to bring in an HR consultant who helps us with, with just the issues of employment with our team. I have a great team, but it took time to build that team.
Yes.
And it took different iterations of it.
Right.
So the truth of the matter is that the team that I first hired my first year, with the exception of one person, they're not here. Right.
Wow.
The team that I hired the second year, I would say half of them are still here.
Well, that's
and now
good.
year 3 and 4, they're staying with us. Now we got the right team. But it took time, and I have learned and embraced the idea of hiring slow and firing fast. You gotta do it. I hate to have to let somebody go, and I work but I had given people so many chances that it was becoming harmful for the organization. And so I've learned now that there's a level to grace, right? And there has to be growth within that. And
understanding balance and boundaries.
Exactly. And sometimes the gift for them and for you is to say we have to part right now.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things for me is that whole, letting go part. Because I'm one who I like to say separation anxiety, and I hold on tight. And then I have to check myself with this like savior syndrome. Like, you are not designed to be everybody's, covering. And so you have to learn that balance for yourself. And you have to have enough wisdom to know when it's time to say, I need to help you fly and soar onto your next level. Because you could be hindering them too from walking in their God-given purpose or whatever it is that they're good at.
Exactly.
And thinking that you're doing them a service by keeping them on. Because I start thinking of their livelihood. Like, what are they going to do? Unemployment is not a lot. And it's like, but that's not yours to carry. It's not yours to carry.
And the truth of the matter is that as long as you are doing things with respect to folks,
right?
They'll be okay, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned. You know, I learned from my own self and having to depart from places personally, but also from on the side of as a leader, you know, and having to ask people to depart. Or helping them make that decision that it was time.
Yeah.
You know, I do it with grace, do it with respect. Those things are really important. When I can give some kind of severance, I will, depending on who it is and what it is and what has happened in that situation. But I do try to make sure that we start with grace and that there are chances and chances, and giving them space to grow, giving them the tools to be successful as possible in that, and then learning where, you know, where we may have failed out on our end as well. But the other part of that is that for your own mental health, we talked about how you take care of yourself. For the health of the organization, I have told my team that my first priority is the health of this organization.
Yes.
And then because we have to sustain past all of us.
Yes.
And that's what I had to explain to them. I got to sustain this organization past the young people that we serve, past you, past me. We've got to sustain for many, many years, right? And then I got to, then with that, in alignment are the young people.
Yes.
Right? So those two are my top priorities. That's number one for me. Then I look at my team, right? And then everything else outside of that, reputation, all that other stuff, right?
Yes.
And so it's important that they understand that they are still very, very important on that list. But number one is the health of this organization and the young people that we serve.
Yes.
And so if you are in counter of that, then there has to be a shift, right?
We have to make some.
But as much as possible, I try to work with my team. Trust me, I have worked with them. And we try to make sure that they are taken care of also from a mental health perspective.
Yes.
You know, we do mental health days. We do office shutdowns. We also do like monthly activities with them to help them with their health and their mental health. So, you know, I've literally paid for my staff to go to a salt cave and take a nap for an hour.
Wow.
Right? And it was part of their day. They got paid for it. Like you know what I mean? So I will do those things as well. So I'm like, I'm gonna work hard for you, but you got to work hard for me too.
But have you encountered where you've really worked hard and it still wasn't enough for some people?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I'm one who I don't like confrontation, period. Anyway, I try to avoid it. So I'm overly nice sometimes. But I have to tell people, don't get it twisted. Because I don't like it, don't mean I won't enter into it.
Right.
Don't mean I won't confront.
I love it.
Don't mean I won't go there with you, because I will. I just prefer not to. Because I like grace. I like treating people the way I want to be treated, with respect. But I've encountered sometimes where you've done that and you've gone over and above, and it was still never enough.
Never enough. Never enough. And, you know, I have literally had to sit down. I remember sitting down with my HR consultant when she first came in. And I gave her sort of an overview of the team. She met some of the team members. She saw like what we do. She was like, tell me about your benefits. Tell me about what you do, you know. And she looked at me and she said, you've created an entitled environment.
Not the entitled environment.
And I was like, oh, you know.
Right?
And so you have over-empowered your team. I said, oh. She said, let me be very clear with you. There are certain things, like you've given so much that you've bent over so much, and then you got to pull back, right? And she challenged me. She said, if I'm gonna come on and bring you on as a client, I'm gonna work with you, then you've got to listen when I say, I know you want to do that for them, but this is what this is going to breed, because they're not mature enough to handle that yet.
Sound like the same thing when you went in. It's like, I need you to trust me. So she's saying, as your HR work, I need you to trust me. It's going to get uncomfortable, but I need you to trust me.
And that's what we've been doing. And so we've been working on that. You know, to be honest, she and I've been working on it. And, you know, there are times when, you know, I'll say, well, this is what happened, and I need you to talk to those folks. And I love how, like, she will question me. Well, okay, you said that they did this first, then this, and then this, right? You gave them a warning, but then the next one wasn't written like it was supposed to, right?
Well.
So she's really been working with me to make sure that
you're following through the protocols.
That I'm following through with the accountability. She said, accountability is important to you, I can tell. Right? And it is. It's very important to me.
Right.
And so she's been working with me around that, working with the team around that. And I'm definitely seeing a shift, right? But yeah, you know, you have young people that are coming in straight out of college. They have the first job, right? And you want to give them the grace. And at the same time, you're like, but I need you to have some common sense, right? I need you to understand that all you got to do is read the handbook. But also, if you're not going to show up to work, don't just not show.
Right.
I had an employee who didn't show to work, no call, no show, came 2 days later. I said, well, where were you? I needed to take a mental health day. Okay, but you got to call in sick.
Right.
Like you have a right to do that.
Right.
But you got to call in sick. I need you to respect my boundaries. I said, I need you to respect the rules of this organization.
Right.
Right? And so by law,
you could have let them go.
Right. And that's what I told him. What you just did was a no call, no show. You won't get paid because you didn't call in sick.
Wow.
Right? She never did that again. But she had to understand, like, and I was like, what? You didn't even have to call. We literally say you can Slack, text, call, or email.
Plenty options.
Plenty options. She chose none.
Wow.
Right? Because
Wow.
she said, I respect my boundaries, right? And I said, well, you gotta respect the rules of the organization, right?
That part.
And so I didn't respect your boundaries. I wouldn't even called you to find out if you were okay. I literally called like, are you okay? Are you alive?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, once she understood that, she made a shift. But, I don't know what we're doing nowadays, that we're not teaching the basics.
Yeah.
EmpowHer teaches the basics to our kids when it comes to career and workforce development.
Because you don't know what you don't know.
Right? But I'm really trying to remind myself every day with the new workforce that they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And so there's extra grace that has to be given.
Yeah.
And then there also has to be some accountability.
Ooh. Dawn, girl, I'm telling you, I can sit on this sofa with you for 2 hours and feel like it's been 2 minutes, 2 minutes to 10 minutes, okay? But I want to ask you just one last question. Who have you sort of looked up to as a leader that, do you follow any trends in leadership? Or is there just, a certain leadership model that you like to emulate or follow?
That's a great question. I don't know that there is one person in particular that I look up to. There have been some amazing leaders in my life that I have pulled from, right? And so different supervisors, different managers that I've had as I've grown, that I've pulled from and said, okay, I want to, how can I do that? How can I do that? But I think when I think about who I am, someone said to me recently, because I said, I know my brain is all over the place and I need you to, focus it in. And she said, no, you're a visionary.
Yes.
Right? And so she was like, no, I get it. Like, I get it. You literally sometimes have to process things as you're telling us, but you're a visionary, right?
Yes.
And you know how to motivate to get to where we need to go, right? And so so for me, I think it's visionary leadership in the fact that I have a very clear goal in mind. I want to make sure everyone knows what that goal is. It's important to be transparent along the way.
Yes.
So I am as transparent as I can be with my team, because sometimes you can't be fully transparent. They'll lose their minds, right?
Right.
They don't need to know everything.
You can't handle it.
You can't handle the truth, okay? But and transparent with my board. And so that's important, transparency, vision, and being very clear about what, not just having it in your own brain, but making sure everyone knows what that is.
Right.
And everyone is, and when they shift out of it, make sure you're bringing them back. This is what the vision is. This is where we're going. And stay on target with that. And you have to walk your talk every day.
I know that's
and
right.
And that, I think, if anything else, like, I am someone who really puts a true effort into walking her talk every day. I take it very, very seriously. And you gotta listen to the people that you serve. So, for me, those are like the big things that I've learned. And you gotta find moments to have fun.
Yeah, girl. Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been so many nuggets. So many powerful things that I think our audience, especially our young people, can take and just run with it and embrace it. Because sometimes being in leadership feels lonely, right? But it's good to have that kitchen cabinet leader that you can call, because I know you've been a kitchen cabinet leader for me. I've tried to be a kitchen cabinet leader for you. It's like, girl, look at here. But you know that you're in that safe space. But I just want to thank you. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being a model. And thank you for just taking over the nonprofit landscape, girl. Because I'm watching. But before we go, I want to just say, you have an event, a forum that's coming up that I get the privilege of being a part of.
Yes,
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yes.
Because I'm super excited. Last year was amazing, y'all. It was amazing. Talk about the forum.
Yeah, it's the EmpowHer Black Women Nonprofit Leaders Forum. It's going to happen on June 21st of this year here in Los Angeles. People, you can come from other places, so you don't have to necessarily be in LA. You can fly out, to join us. But the forum is really, it came from my own experience and a conversation with a friend of mine where I was keeping it silent, what I was suffering from, right? And I didn't know that there was a name for it. I know it was misogynoir, right? And was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me about somebody completely different and what they were going through, and it sounded like what I was going through exactly. And then she said, girl, I've been through the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, wait, are we all sitting here quiet and not hiding it because we don't want people to think that we're failures here? Right? And so in the midst of talking to all of these, like, trying to find Black women to talk to, I started talking to people like you and talking to all of my friends, and we were all going through it. And I said, hold up, we need a safe space for this.
Yes.
And so that's how the forum was created. I was able to get the funding to make it happen. And so this forum is a full day for Black women, nonprofit leaders, women in the health field, to come together and heal from misogynoir, get the professional development that they need that is specific for them, and to be able to network and meet other leaders, because we can't do this alone. We have to have a sisterhood, right? And so that's what it, and to celebrate just being a Black woman and all the beauty that comes with that.
Oh, let me sip.
The unicorn that we are. So that's what the day is. I encourage people to go to our website, buy a ticket, please. The only way that we're going to continue to do this is if you get a ticket and you come.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that's what it is. And so I'm
Last
really
year was
excited
so
about
amazing.
it.
And we left with the theme, sis, I see you.
Yes, that we are continuing this year.
I see
I
you.
see you, sis.
Ooh.
Which is so beautiful to watch how the people who came last year.
Yes.
Because on social media, when someone writes something about something positive that's happened, something negative that's happened, I see people right under it. I see you, sis.
Exactly.
And I know they came. Right? And so we really have created this sort of secret network of support for one another that was just so deeply needed, especially here in LA.
It was. Well, I'm excited, and I thank you for inviting me to be a workshop leader last year. I'm excited to come back. That's when you know you did a good job, when you get invited back the second time.
Yes. And our keynote is Angela Rye, so I do want to say that.
Yes.
And and we're also going to be doing a fireside chat with Elizabeth Liba, and there are a couple of other big names that are going to be joining us as well that I haven't announced yet. But so, it's bang for your buck.
Look, let me tell you, last year I had men reaching out to me saying, is there any way we could come? I'm like, I doubt that. And I was like, Dawn, this man. She said, can we just have something for ourselves?
I'm saying.
Just like,
I'm saying.
Tell them no. I'm like, Dawn said no. With no apologies, okay?
Right, period.
No. But I just love that about you. And I love just your, how you embrace fundraising and how you make fundraising look fun and easy. And I know it's work for you, but you have because you understand that it's necessary for the work. And it requires the support of philanthropists whose mission is to fund programs like yours and mine. So I appreciate that. And one other thing I need to share, Dawn has even taught her girls how to be philanthropists. They got money to give grants to other nonprofit organizations. That is just so beautiful.
Yes, I got Black and brown girls from the ages of 11 to 24, and they are my middle schoolers and my early high schoolers are philanthropists. They are trained as philanthropists. They are scuba divers. They're certified as scuba divers. They're certified as sailors. They are now just got certified not only in doing CPR, but as trainers. And so now I have 16-year-old girls who are training and teaching adults, and they make their money from teaching adults and certifying them in CPR.
Girl, I love it.
Yeah, we really are trying to make sure that they are developing real marketable skills.
Yes.
And that they are doing things that will help them break generational cycles of poverty.
Yes.
Right? So we don't even pay our girls even when they do programs and work for us. We don't pay them minimum wage because they're not minimum wage kids.
I know that's right. We are not serving minimum wage kids. Let's just say that, all right? Dawn, thank you. It has been a pleasure having my sis Dawn here. We will share more information about Dawn in the comments section. You will find out more about the forum. Please get your ticket. If you are a female CEO, leader of a nonprofit organization, Black and Brown, this forum is for you. So thank you, Dawn, for being here. And don't forget those 3 magical things you have to do. Subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, I hope you grab something that will help you on your leadership journey. Bye now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye until next time.